And in football, Victor Osimhen savaged Napoli in UEFA Champions League round of 16. These and many more will be yours after this short timeout. Please stay with us.
Telling him not to counterpunch.
Sports Talk on Atlantic Television Network, and of course joining me on today's edition of the show is a man, of course,
days ahead in the remaining days in the Nigeria Professional Football League, and of course Rivers United, as they will be hitting the road for match day 5 in the CAF Confederations Cup, and of course what the future holds for basketball in Nigeria.
I tell you, what's the future? What does the future hold for basketball in Nigeria? We'll talk about that, and as well, just like you mentioned there, let's take a look at the wheelchair basketball, of course, in Nigeria. Because the president of the Wheelchair Basketball Federation of Nigeria, Seyi Johnson, has revealed that the maiden edition of the national championship will commence in March. And Johnson disclosed this during the National Technical Workshop for coaches and officials at the Kwara State Sports Commission in Ilorin yesterday. He affirmed that the officials for the league will be selected from participants of the workshop. Johnson, who is also the chairperson of International Wheelchair Basketball Federation West African region, said that the dream for his board was to operate independently, devoid of any financial issue. He added that in the next 3 months, the federation will announce international competitions, adding that the federation is working on acquiring equipment to aid the development of wheelchair basketball. I don't know what you make of the president of the wheelchair basketball in the country, talking about Seyi Johnson. The man, of course, is actually doing everything possible to make sure he gets, sponsorship already. They have a sponsor already. And taking a look at the federation financial-wise, they've been stable and looking forward to getting more facilities, of course, for the basketball players.
It's what we have been yearning for, a federation that will be totally independent of the sports ministry, a federation that will not be dependent on what a government brings for them to the table before they begin to plan for their athletes. For them, organizing a national championship in the month of March is a thing of joy, just as we say for the able-bodied athletes that are trained every day, every week, every month, and without a competition to go showcase what they have been doing in the training session over the month. It does not speak volume. It discourages. So for these physically challenged basketball athletes that will play sitting on their wheelchair, to be aware that there is a competition in the month of March, not just a regional competition, but a national competition where wheelchair basketball players from other parts of the country will come participate, and a champion will emerge. It will motivate them, and of course for those who say, who have condemned themselves to be on that wheelchair to beg for the rest of their life, they'll start thinking of, life, outside the street life, or the begging status that they have condemned themselves to. Because for those basketball athletes today who play on the wheelchair, there is something for them at the end of the month. And if they do well, representing a state or a club, who says, for example, a state that loves sports so much will not easily engage them, employ them into the state civil service structure, and they begin to earn, a salary at the end of the month. Some of these wheelchair basketball players are graduates. Some of them have secondary education, and some of them don't have secondary education because there was nobody to push them all the way through. This is an opportunity for them to carve a niche for themselves and start depending on themselves and fending for themselves as well.
Interesting, and we hope that, of course, the presidents of other federations will imbibe this, because we're hearing of issue of funding for federation, and that will actually take us to the able-bodied athletes, which, of course, she's talking about basketball, the D Tigers of Nigeria. We hear the Nigerian senior male basketball team, D Tigers, will not participate in the FIBA Afro-Basket qualifiers that begins tomorrow in Tunisia. According to a release by Nigerian Basketball Federation, it cited lack of funds to prepare the team for the tournament due to inability of the Ministry of Sports to provide the NBBF with the needed funds for the qualifiers. Mr. Peter, we actually saw this at some point, in the female team with the D Tigers, and now we're seeing it again now in the D Tigers of Nigeria.
Should I say the euphoria of the Super Eagles participation at the just concluded Nations Cup finals took the attention of virtually everybody in the country. And this is why we'll continue to say football is a king of sports. But again, our administrators must not think along the line of the football fans that we have in the country. I'm sure that before now, the sports minister was aware that the Tigers would be at a certain championship or tournament, as the case may be. Papers, proposals has been sent to the sports ministry long before now. So what was the sports minister thinking? That 48 hours to the commencement of this tournament or championship, the Tigers are not sure if they are going to be there. It's a shame. I want to believe that that story is not true. But if it turns out to be true, then it's a he watched the finals of the Super Eagles played. The vice president was detailed to go to Abidjan to go support the Super Eagles, not just to watch the semi-finals, but also to go back and watch the finals. If you can do this for football, why not do same for other sports? Must we come cap in hand begging before something is done for our athletes, our sportsmen to participate in major meets across the continent of Africa? This is not good for the current administration. Economically, a whole lot is happening in the country already. Protests left, right, center, hunger strike, hunger protest, and what have you. And today we're talking about the national, not a basketball club side now, a national basketball team, the senior team for that matter, withdrawing from a championship on the continent of Africa. Is no good news, my brother.
Not a good news at all. Of course, we expect the sport ministry to be able to weigh in and survey the situation. But what do you make of it? The NBBF president, Musa Kida, as big as the D Tigers of Nigeria, they should be able to at least without the sport ministry in terms of looking for sponsorship. The D Tigers of Nigeria is a very big team, or let's say very big brand. to attract heavy sponsorship. So why would the president of the NBBF, wait until the ministry comes, to their aid before they can go for tournament or, championship like this?
A house that is divided against itself certainly cannot stand, or it will be very difficult for the house to stand. You recall that a few years ago, maybe up till last year, there was this power tussle for the soul of the NBBF between Kida and TJ.
A Gucci mark.
TJ was given an appointment in the villa by the previous administration. He got an appointment in the villa to take his attention away from there, and we thought that that will be it. But yet another face, sprang up again to attempt to wrest power from Musa Kida. I doubt if any NBBF president has invested what Kida has invested in the growth and development of basketball here in Nigeria. For our presidents, there is a limit to which you can put in your resources. You can attract sponsors. It's like you have your own company, and I am the president, and there's someone trying to wrest power from me. It will certainly discourage you from putting your money in whatever, no matter how viable the project I'm presenting before you, it's going to be very difficult for you to put in your money in that project. So that is what has happened to the beclouded the sense of reasoning or sense of a sponsorship for the NBBF here in Nigeria. The sports minister, should be up and doing. I've always said, before the private sector will invest in sports, the enabling environment must be there. The sports minister must be seen to be committed to the development of sports. If company A, company B wants to put in 100 million naira, 200 million naira, what do they stand to benefit? Company A comes to me, I go to Mr. President. Company A wants to do this volume of business for us, develop sports, which means what we budget every year for sports at the professional level will have to drop drastically while we concentrate at the grassroots amateur level. So for company A that is doing this, we need to do something for company A to encourage them. There should be room for tax rebates. Instead of paying XYZ amount of money as tax because of what you're doing for sports, this is what you are going to pay. This will encourage not just one company, but several other companies to begin to put in their money. The CEO of a particular company could be a fan of tennis, of volleyball, of athletics. He puts his money in volleyball because naturally he loves volleyball more than football and more than athletics. He puts his money there. Company Z comes on board. The CEO there enjoys combat sports, judo, wrestling. He puts his money in judo and wrestling. Before you know it, we'll begin to have sports developing at an alarming rate compared to what it has been in the last 3 or 4 decades. So for me, I wouldn't blame Musa Kida or the NBBF for not being attractive enough to attract corporate establishment to invest in sports. The internal wranglings, in the NBBF, has affected potential suitors or investors rather from putting their money, there. So that is why they always have to fall back to the government. There was a time that the NBBF prosecuted games without resorting to government. But today, they have to. So governments too shouldn't wait for the matter to get to this point, get to the public, before they start thinking of what to do. What this means is that we don't have proactive thinkers in the sports ministry. And sports can certainly and will certainly not grow in the country if we continue in this dimension.
And as well, you take a look at it, it seems as if basketball in the country has really experienced huge setback because we saw the Basketball Premier League down here in Nigeria, where of course we saw the Final Four in Port Harcourt. Though yes, it was well organized and all of that, but the way the league was actually played, I think, wasn't the normal format at which it was run. We saw the Women Premier League as well, which we saw a sponsor in that particular one. And well, you see, the way that the leagues, are being organized is not the normal way it's supposed to run. Good of a thing, the D Tigers, they've qualified for the Paris Olympics. We hope this won't happen, talking about, paucity of fun and all of that. Now, we're seeing another setback for the D Tigers of Nigeria. I don't know what you make of the way basketball has been managed, so far in the country.
Well, for me, I want to score Musa Kida a B.
B?
Yeah, because we look at how our national teams have performed, in the last 5 editions of the Afro Baskets on the continent. For the girls, they have surpassed the guys. Our female national team is doing better than our male.
I really want basketball really work in the country because...
No, looking at the national platform, the Tigers have won the last 3 editions of the Afro Basket back-to-back. So if you want to measure success by the performance of the administrators of basketball in Nigeria, you look at first what they have been able to achieve, up there on the continent of Africa. Have we been successful? Yes, we have been successful.
But the question remains, the players we even use at the national level, most of them are not home-based. We pick like maybe 1-2 players in some of the teams in the country to, of course, for them to represent us. So that's to say that we're not experiencing growth in basketball.
No, like I said, if we want to look at how the federation has been, it is not what that federation has achieved internally. We want to look at what this federation has achieved externally, in this case on the continent. So that was why I said, yes, Musa Kida, you're going to give him a plus. But internally, you agree with me that it's still the internal wrangling thing, to plan, to administer, to develop basketball in the country, have a regular basketball season, was affected by the power tussle between Kida and Tujani Umar at some point, and Kida and a few others. And those who are supposed to be on Kida's side, for some reasons best known to them, they started fighting Kida, and at the end of the day, it turned out to be that this man, Musa Kida, really meant well for basketball in Nigeria. If you've been president of the MBBF for 8 years and there is nothing to show for our feet on the continent of Africa, it's high time you took a bow and leave the scene for someone else to come in. Musa Kida came in and we saw the changes, we saw the blueprints of what it tends to do, even domestically, to have a regular playing season. But this infighting truncated everything. So that is why I will not want to say Musa Kida's administration failed. Because if he had been allowed, these side distractions, were not there, basketball in Nigeria would have experienced, a significant growth from what it was, some 15 years ago. We have players today who can actually hold their own against any side on the continent of Africa. The Final Four that you talked about here in Port Harcourt, I spoke with a couple of the players, and I asked them, what is that thing that they want the federation to do? All they asked for is a regular season. The regular season, the long season, where they play home and away, and you play as many as 25 or 30 matches in a season, and not this one where all the teams, 6 teams will go to a particular center, go play, they'll come back, they'll go to Lagos, go play, and get qualified and straight to the Super 4 or Final 4 or whatever they call it. The regular season is what these guys are asking for. It's like what is obtainable in football. I go back memory lane and take a statistics of each year, the NPL, abridged the league. It affects the performance of the champions of that abridged season on the continent of Africa. Because you're just going to play about 16, 18 matches and you're champions of the league. Compared to a club or a footballer that plays for 38 matches in a football season. The mental toughness is different from you that played just 16 games. And how are you sure that you're going to play all 16 games or 18 games as a player? You might end up just playing about 14, just in case injury sets in. So the mental alertness of a player and the consistency of what a player brings to the table that played 38 games or 30 games on the average cannot be compared to a player that just put in maybe between 10 and 15 games, in a particular season. And from the players, you can feel their body language. They are not happy playing this abridged season. So we should come to this understanding right now that each time we go for an abridged season, it affects the performance of our representatives on the continent of Africa the following season. So we must do all that we can to making sure that, yes, whatever that will be a distraction to deny these players the opportunity of, playing for a longer period of time, we put an end to it so that we start seeing the level of progress that we can make each time we have representatives playing on the continent of Africa, be it the CAF Champions League, CAF Confederations Cup, the Afro Basketball today as it is for basketball. The same thing is applicable to volleyball. The same thing is applicable to handball. For all the ball games, except for football that is a bit regular, we've not had a regular season for the ball games in Nigeria. So when they go to the continent to go play, largely home-based players bring other largely home-based players from other climes. The difference in terms of technicality, tactics will just be obvious for everyone to see that our home lads are no match for their counterparts from Egypt, from South Africa, from Morocco, and from even Cameroon and Rwanda, that is gradually becoming a force in the ball games in Africa.
All right, so sad and a very, very huge setback, of course, at the moment for Nigerian basketball, where the Tigers, of course, won't be participating at the Afro basketball this time around. A very, very disappointing one. But let's stay away from that as we hear the Athletic Federation of Nigeria has invited 33 athletes, 17 men and 16 women to camp ahead of the 13th African Games scheduled to hold in 3 Ghanaian cities of Accra, Cape Coast, and Kumasi next month. Olayinka Olajide, winner of the women's headlines the list of athletes made public yesterday by the swipe of for the Athletic Federation of Nigeria, and to begin camping in Abuja from today. See the contingent departure for Ghana next month. Other females on the list are sprinters Blessing Okundiran and Tiana Justina, Quota Mila, Esther Elo Joseph Patient Okon, and Esther Okon. Adekalu, Enoch Adekoke, Israel Okon, and Consider Ekadem are the male sprinters heading to the Abuja camp. Samuel Onikoku, Taye Endurance, Solomon Aliyu, Kayode Yahaya, DJ Aliyu, Mohammed Dabo, and Gabriel Kohn are some of the experienced coaches that will be working with the athletes wide in camp. So preparation in top-notch at the moment ahead of the All-African Games. I don't know what you make of the names, talking about the athletes and the coaches that will be, of course, that will be in camp in Abuja ahead of the All-African Games.
Well, I'm aware there was a championship, the All-Comers Affairs or All-Comers Trials or something in Asaba recently. And so the names you just read out, the fallout of...
especially Economic Consider.
Yes. Can we be a force in Accra, Ghana for the All-Africa Games? I'll say a no. Because if you look at the returning time of our athletes, it calls for questioning. It is not amongst the best in Africa. Unlike the days when we had the Olakpade Adenike, we had the Ezinwa brothers, that for the 100 meters, you have Nigeria finishing first, second, third, gold, silver, bronze. For men, women, gold, silver, bronze. The 4x100 meters relay, the 4x4, male and female, it's usually Nigeria. It was only Frankie Fredericks of Namibia that tried coming in between, you know, a Nigerian clean sweep of the 100 meters and 200 meters. Just one athlete on the continent of Africa for about 4 years came between Nigerians having a clean sweep of medals at the All Africa Games, and at some point it was Clifford Christie at the Commonwealth Games. Otherwise, it has always been Nigerian athletes, you know, doing very, very well in the sprint events. Preparation has not been top-notch. Yes, the list might look very, very impressive, but preparation for the All Africa Games also have started 4 years ago after the last edition of the All Africa Games. But look at it, well, we waited until less than 6 months before we started planning. So if we go and come back with about maybe, let's say, 40, 50 gold medals, and we finished in the top 5 brackets, we are going to sing the praises of our athletes that they have done pretty much. Meanwhile, if we had started preparation as early as other countries, 4 years, because every Olympic cycle, you want to produce a champion that is 17 years, it is a 4-year program, not a 6-month program or a 1-year program. For an athlete that is just 12, your target will be a 2 years Olympic cycle program. That is for 8 years, because each Olympic year is 4 years. All Africa Games is 4 years. Commonwealth Games is 4 years. So for every 4 years, you know, depending on the age bracket of the athletes, the potential of the athletes, you start, you know, programming that athlete for podium performance. But in our own case, how many of these athletes were programmed for podium performance at the forthcoming All African Games 4 years ago? Or how many of them were programmed for podium performance even a year ago? So you can't just come and program an athlete less than 6 months to a major championship for a podium performance, and you think the athlete is going to win. What are other countries? You think they have been sleeping? No, they have been preparing, they have been planning. You know, they have been doing the right thing. You do the right thing in the right atmosphere, in the right condition, with the right mental attitude, and the right technical know-how, you are sure going to have podium performance at the end of the championship. But if you keep any of these out of the chain, because it's like a chain, what is the nutritional makeup of what these athletes take, or what they have been taking in the last 1 year? You have to adhere to it strictly, because you have a target, you know, and that target must be achieved at a particular time in the life of these athletes. If you don't do all of this, my brother, forget them. We go just go there. Yes, win what we go feel win, and where we go lose woefully, and come back home and celebrate those who have won and give them award like honors, national honors, like the Super Eagles players that won silver and they were all given M1.
All right, so we'll keep our fingers crossed and see what the likes of Enoch Adekoke and Consider Ekanem, the likes of Israel Cole as well, will be able to do this time at the All African Games. So hope, of course, they get those gold medals for Nigeria. Well, let's talk shot put on the show this morning as African Games champion Chukwuebuka Enokachi has set a new indoor African record in shot puts and also beat the Paris 2024 Olympic qualifying mark after landing a massive 31.63 meters at the Veste meeting in Czech Republic. He broke the 13-year-old African indoor record of 31.47 meter, which was set by Jonas Roberts of South Africa in 2001. He finished second in the event behind New Zealand Tom Walsh, who reached a mark of 31.96 meters. It was also a new personal best for Enokachi, who produced his best in the event by going over 31 meters on every attempt. His previous best output was 31.80 meters, which he posted at Chef-Lange, Luxembourg in 2019. What do you make of this feat for Chukwuebuka Enokachi?
Let's wait for the All African Games.
Of course, but the man has been, a bit, consistent in terms of, the length, of course, as which he has gone in his stroke.
Yeah, the distance he has been able to achieve for himself, breaking the African records that has been there since 2001 is a plus for him, But I want all these records, to be taken to the big stage. We saw Amusa, Toby, how she took those records she was breaking at one meet or the other meet record, either she equals the meet record or she breaks the meet record. We were looking forward to Tobin taking this thing to the big stage. And when she eventually did, Nigerians stood up for her. But what has the federal government done to celebrate that one athlete that put our national anthem on the global stage for the very first time in a sprint event, hurdles event, where others have tried and failed? She did not only try, she conquered and also shattered the world records. We have not done enough to celebrate Toby, and to every hype should be around Toby today. Toby should be an ambassador of some sort to many corporate establishments in Nigeria. So the sports ministry needs a whole lot of work to do. As the shot putter is breaking records in faraway Czech Republic, who amongst the coaches in the national team setup monitored that event, watched that event on TV, to see, his body movement, his body swing, his throws, how he goes about it. If he's coming to the All Africa Games, if he has a private trainer, will you allow him to come into the All Africa Games with a private trainer? Will you be ready to foot the bill of his private coach if he has one? So, this is what other countries do to further motivate and encourage their athletes to do more once they wear the jersey of their country. But in our own case, I'm sure the sport minister, the AFN president got to know about these athletes' feat when they read it on the pages of the newspapers, or somebody drew their attention to it on the social media. For every major meet, however big that meet is, that our athletes are participating in, I expect coaches in the sports council, in the sports ministry, to monitor, to watch, to follow the progress of that athlete, whether the athlete wins or not. If the athlete loses, apart from the coach's athlete that traveled with him or her, the technical director of the Athletics Federation of Nigeria will also take notes from what he or she has seen on TV, what this athlete was able to achieve or why the athlete failed to make it to the medal category, But we actually don't do all of this. So sometimes when these athletes even come back to Nigeria, we don't know where they have run, where they have competed, what was their personal best, why they couldn't equal their personal best in the first quarter of the year, what is going wrong in their mind. Is it a mental problem? Is it a psychological thing? How can our own psychologists come into the mix to help these athletes to do it right, overcome whatever that challenge is, and become the super athlete that he or she has been programmed to be in another 5 years, 10 years, or within a particular period, as the case may be. So for me, let's see what will happen at the All Africa Games. That record where you don't break.
Break them again.
Come break them again.
All right, so we'll take a short break now. Let's sport it time, and then when we'll come back, I'll dive straight into the beautiful world of football. Please stay with us. We'll be right back.
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara We bring on sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today, only on ATN.
Telling him not to counterpunch. Telling him not to counterpunch. People into the country illegally. That is amazing.
Honorable
You human
on the point of order.
Honorable
On them. They are not picking our calls. They made up their minds.
No agreement with the EU, but
Every day our lives are changed by
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring on sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today, only on ATN.
telling him not to counterpunch.
Welcome back, Stay Sports Talk on Atlantic Television Network. And of course, we bring you the latest revolving around the water sport. This time, of course, we'll bring you the latest from the Nigerian Men Football League, as we saw some interesting matches in match day 9 for the Nigerian Men Football League. National Amazons they beat Niger Ratus by 5 goals to 0, and Danas Ladies beat Confluence Queens by 4 goals to 2, and Demon Queens beat Amber Angels by 2 goals to 1. Royal Queens played goalless against Heartland Queens, and of course Rivers Angels were able to beat Rainbow Stars Ladies by 2 goals to 0. Delta Queens beat Ekiti Queens by 2 goals to 1. Bayelsa Queens beat Sunshine Queens by 2 goals to 0. Eshirobo Queens beat Edo Queens by 1 goal to 0. But Peter, let's talk about Rivers Angels beating Rainbow Star Ladies by 2 goals to 0. It really shows, much intent, of course, from the Rivers Ladies.
Well, not a surprising result for me, for a side that one expects to continue to dominate women football in the country. The only rival we should have today, it's Bayelsa Queens and Delta Queens. Every other queen in the women's football, like you say in the movie, Nawaka Pass Road, 9B. But unfortunately for Rivers Angels, they have not been able to get the right replacements for the number of players that has left the team. While fortunately for other teams, they have been able to plan. They actually don't rely on the big names. They go to schools, pick young girls who are interested in football at the age of 12, 13, run an academy-like program, keep them together for some years. Before you say you say Jack Robinson, they are up there playing in the elite league. I watched Rivers Angels against FC Robo. That was 2 Wednesdays ago. In fact, the first Rivers Angels to a 1-all draw. The last 15 minutes of the game, you want to give it to these young girls from Lagos. Rivers Angels managed to escape with 1 point in that particular game. They have this big center halfback who brought experience, to bear. Otherwise, the Rivers Angels could have lost that game. The new coach has done pretty well, Ogbonda White, and is getting closer to the mandate given to him, which is, I want to believe, to win the title. Rivers Angels, I'm sure they are still at the top of the league table. If they continue this way, yes, they might go back to the continent, and play again. But I expect to see, Rivers Angels, make an attempt to have, a youth system, because their players are not as young as FC Robo players that I saw, because I didn't watch the game yesterday. If this generation of players leave the team for greener pastures, or they leave for other club sides, what is the replacement policy like? Will you be getting like for like at the end of the season? Because at the end of every season for Rivers United, if your defensive midfielder leaves, the player that you're bringing in might start from a shadow position, maybe after 1 or 2 seasons, before the player will now mature into what the player that was playing in that position was doing for the team about 2-3 years ago. The depth in Rivers Angels keeps dropping every season. So I expect that if they manage to win the league title this season, the technical department of the team needs to do something very, very urgent, because if they win the way they are playing right now, they go to the continent to play in the regional level of the CAF Women Champions League to qualify for the big one, then they might just come back home at the regional level if they continue to play the way they are playing right now. Yes, you're winning games, but how convincing are those wins? How enterprising the movement of these girls, from the from each department of the field to the other departments. I'm talking about from the midfield, from the defense to the midfield, and to the attack. And even when you lose the ball, how do you regroup? You know, how do you economize space? You know, how do you block every available space to intercept passes that are coming from at the middle of the park of your opponent? So a whole lot of work needs to be done in the Rivers Angels setup. But for now, good news that they are still leading the pack, and I hope it ends this way.
All right, let's see how it goes for Rivers Angels. We hope, of course, they continue to lead in that particular group. But yesterday we saw a game in the Premier League as Liverpool beat Luton Town by 4-1, and courtesy of that win, they now stay top of the table with 4 points, clear of Manchester City as they stand, who are second in the Premier League table. But yesterday we saw some UEFA Champions League matches, and Arsenal, of course, were stunned by FC Porto, as of course they couldn't, get a win in the first leg of the round of 16 clash we saw yesterday. What do you make of Arsenal? They conceded late in that particular encounter yesterday.
Arsenal has not really played like a side meant for glory in the UEFA Champions League. They narrowly lost it, I think, on 2 occasions. Once against Barcelona, they even shot into the lead. Thierry Henry was still with Arsenal that very year. Barcelona came from behind to win by 2-1. I hope I'm not mixing the scoreline in that particular final match between Arsenal and Barcelona. That was the golden era of Arsenal. The players in that team were men and not just boys who could move with the ball. Arsene Wenger had men playing for him, players with grit, players with a lion heart, playing for him. But over the years, we've not really seen that crop of players in the mix for Arsenal. But for Mikel Arteta, the coach has done pretty well. He's one step at a time. Before now, Arsenal FC, the Gunners of English football, I think they were a pushover in the elite club competition in Europe, but they are no longer a pushover. It's just a narrow victory for FC Porto. The reverse fixture at the Emirates would totally be different. I told someone that the match will not be won at in Portugal, in Lisbon. The victory between Arsenal and FC Porto will certainly be at the Emirates. So let's just wait and see what Arteta and his lads will be bringing to the table in the reverse fixture. It's going to be fight to finish, and FC Porto will not be coming to the Emirates to come play a negative football. One good thing about club sides and from Portugal, from Spain, managed by coaches, from that axis. And if you have more of your players from that, axis, they tend to play attacking and exciting football. So we're going to be enjoying what these two sides will bring to the table when they meet in the reverse fixture in the round of 16. So it is not over yet for Arsenal, while for FC Porto, they shouldn't be feeling excited that they are just one step away from the next round of the UEFA Champions League. In fact, both sides, as it were, have equal opportunity to progress to the next round, because the return leg will be played like it is the only match they have to play. They have to play to get to the next round of the UEFA competition.
Yesterday, Victor Osimhen, of course, have to salvage a point, for Napoli against Barcelona. It ended in a 1-0 draw in that particular one. Osimhen, of course, his first game after the African Cup of Nations, and they got to go.
Yes, Osimhen knows how to score when he's putting on the colors of Napoli. sometimes they play for him the moment he gets to the attacking third of the attacking formation. How his team plays in 8 play is different from how his team, talking about the Super Eagles, play. It's certainly going to be difficult for a top striker, a natural number 9, to score when you leave him up front alone, and he's not getting supplies from the middle, or neither is he supplies from the flank. So it's going to be very difficult for such player to try. But at Napoli, it's totally different. This is not the first time that Napoli has drawn against Barcelona in European competitions at home. I do hope that they will be able to come out of their block in the reverse fixture. Barcelona has shown this season that they can be beaten at home and anywhere, in Spain. We've seen them lost games to sides that ordinarily, when Frank Rijkaard was the manager, Pep Guardiola took over, they don't lose to these sides. In Spain, it is a taboo for Barcelona to lose to certain sides. The only side that perhaps that they can lose to, but are forbidden to lose to them, is when they play against Real Madrid. So I see Napoli progressing past Barcelona, to the next round of the UEFA Champions League.
All right, to keep our fingers crossed, it was really a tight encounter, and Victor Osimhen, of course, has to get that one leveled yesterday. We'll keep our fingers crossed and see how the second leg of that one, of course, will go down. But at this point, we'll call it a wrap on the show this morning. Huge thanks to Mr. Abaji, of course, for giving us some incisive analysis this morning. Yeah, my pleasure. Looking forward to the sports ministry doing something for the Tigers so that they can travel out of the country to go be part of that championship that is kicking off on a Friday. We cannot afford not to have the Tigers, former champions of Africa. Is very close by, and this is Wednesday, and it's just 48 hours. I'm sure everything about their visa, traveling. Today's Thursday. Okay, sorry, today's Thursday. I'm sure everything about their visa, the documentation must have been completed. What is delaying them is fund, Abi. It's for the sport minister to go meet Mr. President. Now, this is how much they need. Money is somewhere there. They should bring the money out. All right, we'll give our fingers crossed and see how that one, of course, will pan out. We'll call it a wrap at this point. We're back by 6 p.m. on Sport Extraordinary to bring you the latest about the D Tigers all for Nigeria. My name is Kingsley Manuel. Thanks for watching.
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring all sport news